Smoke Dixon, you have spent the last year telling me how great Nick Saban is and he's the best all the time. But you spent the last week at SEC Media Day saying that he's hating on the Tide. You got to make it make sense today on the show.
Well, Reed, I don't know if he's hating or telling the truth. I mean, a lot of it was the truth, but you just left your team in the hands of arguably the best coach last year because he took Washington all the way to the national championship game. And now everything that we hear is secondary is not good. This is not good. You're picking Georgia or Texas, not your own squad. You know, when we roll Tide for life. So the question I had to ask you is, when you left the North, right, you hired one of yours. If you wouldn't have hired one of your guys from your tree, how would you have felt? And would you have been slightly jabbing a little bit of that hate powder, that hate juice in your veins?
You always wanted to be one of your own. I understand where you're coming from. We're going to get into it later. Welcome to Unfiltered. I'm your host, Carl Reed.
And I'm Smoke Dixon.
Guys, it's time to get unfiltered. Smoke, tell them why they need to tune in.
Man, Reed, you said tell them, so I'm going to get them. They need to tune in to hear two football guys unpack the unfiltered truth about what's going on in today's college football ecosystem from the lenses of two former players, two former coaches, and your resident GM. See, Reed, let's get unfiltered, my man.
In today's episode, we will break down Zymear Smith is going to make his college commitment. Let's see what he does. Why Georgia won't dominate the SEC this season. Texas will make a statement in the SEC. We have Zymear Smith coming on here today to do his commitment. He is a big-time three-star running back at North Carolina High School in Maryland. I love this kid's game because he can run between the tackles. He can also run the ball on the perimeter. He's a great pass catcher out of the backfield, and he also has a mean game receiving when you line him up in the slot. But I think in some of the cut-ups that I watched, people also don't understand that this kid is a good pass protector as well. He's the complete back. Let's welcome in Zymear Smith to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
Zymear, how are you doing, man? We're excited to have you on. Do you have anybody with you today? Who's by you right now?
I'm by myself right now. My family just had to run out and go do something.
Okay, all right. Well, we're gonna get this done on you know. You got me and Smoke with you. You got Reed and Smoke, so you got all what you need right now.
That's all you need. Now, Zymear, a few years ago, I did the total opposite of decommitting from the school. Walk us through you decommitting from the University of Alabama, and then walk us through your final three schools that you got it narrowed down to.
I mean, it wasn't easy decommitting from Alabama. I mean, it got a lot going on over there. A lot of good talent over there. They got picking up. So it wasn't easy, but just had to sit down, talk to my supporters, my family, and my mentors, everybody around me to just decommit and go find a new home.
How have you been preparing for the next level? What have you been doing to get yourself ready to play college football?
Mentally, just been getting my mind right mentally. Now I mean, in the weight room. I've been working out. I play for level 82 Torrey Smith 7-on-17. I mean, just to get coached from another perspective. I mean, a coach that care about me and just want to push me to be better. So that's how I've been preparing myself for the next level.
Now we come to the moment of truth. The floor is all yours. So let us know where you be playing ball next year.
Well, out of the three schools, we had Penn State, we had South Carolina, we had Maryland. I mean, when I decommitted, I kept the relationships with them. I mean, they hit me up. We've been talking. Talked to Penn State. We've been locked in. I mean, we've been talking and all that. Talking to South Carolina. They tell me how they get the ball in my hands. We've been locked in. Maryland, I've been really talking to Maryland for a long time. We've been really just locked in from the get-go, from the start. And Coach Azar, we've been locked in. He been hitting my phone. It's just bigger than football, and I mean deeper than football. He hit me up, Coach Locks, and I mean we've been locked in too. So for the next 3 to 4 years, I'll be taking my talents to the University of Maryland.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. So listen, let me ask you this: why Maryland over everybody else?
No, I mean, they showed me how they get their playmakers the ball, and Coach Gaddis, he showed me how they get their playmakers the ball. Coach Locks, we've been locked in, so we've been talking. Coach Czar. Now, I mean, with them, it's like an offense or defense type situation. So, you know what I mean? We just gonna talk. Why not Booth?
Well, with that said, I know that you're coming in as an athlete. What positions have you been talking to the University of Maryland at playing?
Wide receiver coach, cornerback coach.
So you're telling me that you might be doing both ways, going a little bit of defense, a little bit of offense, just in case the world needs to know?
And we're gonna see coming forward, coach, for sure.
Hey,
But
listen,
Maryland it is. I'm locked in. I'm ready. I'm ready to go there and compete. Sure.
Zymear, we want to thank you for coming on the show. Congratulations on your commitment to the University of Maryland, getting another big time player. Coach Loxley's doing great things up there. Thanks for sharing your commitment with us today.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all for having me.
Smoke, your boy is he does it again. Talk to us about Mike Loxley, not only his recruiting, but how this young man is going to fit into what they do.
Well, I'm going to give you a quick story about when Zymear came across my desk when I was a GM at Maryland. The back room, we call the shop, one of the young guys back there, Marcus Thomas, was just doing his daily query of finding the best in-state talent. He came across this young man. And when I cut the film on, you just see a dynamic, explosive playmaker, raw playmaker with the ball in his hands. And like most high school players, you're just trying to get the ball in his hands in any way possible. So as soon as I saw the film, he jumped off tape. I wrote my report up, and Coach Locks and I sat down, and we went ahead. At that time, Henry Baker had that area. We went ahead and extended the offer to him. But you're getting a dynamic, explosive in-state player with the ability to either on offense or defense. Is right now, like you said, he's been talking more offense. You got a guy that you just want to get the ball in his hands. And what Coach Loxley knows for the most part is the ride outs and getting the ball in playmakers' hands in specialized situations, allowing their true talent to come to fruition.
Everywhere you go in the country, people are talking about Mike Loxley and what he brings on the recruiting trail. There's legendary stories about the way he's closed in recruiting. And some of the best programs in the nation have had the most success when he's been a part of their staff. So it's no surprise to me that Mike Loxley is heating up.
Call me and Smoke Dixon, I'm spitting facts. Now let's hit some heated topics, just in time for group chat.
Smoke, you know what time it is. It's group chat time. Smoke and I are going to let you in our weekly group chat on what we discuss on some of the topics of college football. It's going to be a wild one today. Smoke, our first topic is what? Why Georgia won't dominate in the SEC this season?
Reed, listen, just take a deep breath and just walk with me. I know you're going to say, is your name Smoke or Smoking What You Do? But let me just get into it first. I do believe Georgia's a very good team, right? But there's a lot that's going on right now that we have to unpack, the unfiltered version of what we got going on and why they won't dominate the SEC. Just walk with me. First of all, let's talk about the schedule. That part, when you start September the 28th at Alabama, and you start walking it through, you got Bama. That's going to be a physical game that you're going to have to go into Bryant-Denny and play a team that beat you last year, the only one that beat you for the SEC championship. Then you go into a rival between the edges, Auburn. Might be a cakewalk, but it's not a cakewalk after you just finished coming through a physical game. Then you go into a trap of Mississippi State. You should come out of that. But you got to look ahead and say, I got to go down to Texas and play on October 19th. Tough game. Then you got the cocktail party. Brutal as well. Then you come again and you go to Oxford and you play against Ole Miss. Maybe the best team in the SEC right now. But you're playing against Ole Miss and Tennessee. Those two teams play at a different pace. They play sped up football. So in that part of your schedule where it's the toughest, you're going to have to go in there and play physical ball, focus football week after week after week. It can take a toll on you and just beat you up to the end of the season. Now, the SEC flipped on them, Reed. It's not that they're playing in cakewalk SEC East. And I said it, cakewalk SEC East. If you're an SEC guy, you know the best rest in the West. Typically, when you play in the East, you can walk through and you got that one game where you play, if Tennessee pushes their head up, a tough Tennessee team, or a Florida. Other than that, you're rolling through there. So not only is that middle part of your schedule tough as heck, physical and really good teams, and the best teams at the end, back-to-back weeks, you have no weekends off, and you got to get ready for playoff football. I think they make the playoffs, but I don't know if they go to the SEC championship. Talk to me.
Cut it out. Cut it out. I think it's important, right? Your real name is Gerald Dixon. They call you Smoke, and they call you Smoke because everybody says that you were amazingly fast when you used to play at Alabama, when you played in the league. But sometimes I wonder, do they call you Smoke because you actually smoke, right? Now, I want the fans and the producers to zoom in on the helmet that's over your right shoulder. We know where your loyalty lies. You're an Alabama guy through and through, and you got upset with Coach Saban this week because he didn't pick Bama to be in the SEC championship game. Georgia has dominated the SEC the last couple of years. I think they were undefeated up until they lost to Bama in a really good game towards the end of the season. But for you to say that they're not going to be dominant in the SEC, I don't understand it. Besides scheduling Smoke, what else would make you believe that?
Well, Carl, off-field incidents. You've had 25 off-field incidents from the incident, that the fatal crash that killed one of their teammates and one of the staffers. And on top of that, you have Monday, Bo, and Travis Etienne. The guy just came over, had the DUI reckless driving charges. This is recent. This is the last few months. You and I both know, and I'm gonna touch on you real quick. You've been a head coach, and you understanding the importance of focusing on the task at hand, and that's winning. The hardest thing to do is beat yourself, and then go ahead and play against a team that wants to beat you. You can't win 2 games in 1 week and playing against yourself. You aren't focusing on the task at hand. You're not game planning properly. You're planning policies of keeping your young guys in. So my question to you, Carl Reed, when you were the head coach and you had really, really good teams and you had off the field incidents that you had to sit your team down week to week to week to talk to them about the same exact thing, how much of that took away from your focus on winning the game at hand? That means beating the other team, not beating yourself.
When you have an incident where a player gets in trouble, especially when they get in big trouble, a lot of people say, well, it makes the team, it hurts the team in terms of preparation. That's actually not true. When you have an incident where a player gets in trouble, there's 2 people that can't lose focus. That's the head football coach and the player who's actually affected by the incident, because those are the 2 people who workload becomes bigger. You have to meet with administration. You might have to meet with police. You have to also deal with the public scrutiny that comes from fans, that comes from other faculty members, that comes from locals who feel like maybe the kid should be suspended. Maybe you don't have control over your players the way that you think. But if you have an iron mind and a strong will, and you can stay connected to what's really important, the team itself is not affected by it. The team, it becomes a safe haven for you to release some of the stress that you're dealing with when you're at practice, when you're in the film room. So in terms of it affecting the team, I've never really bought into that, but you do have to make sure the player that is affected in the incident and the head coach, Smoke, keeps their mind clear.
Well, Carl, I'm glad you said player, because it hasn't been player. It's been players. It's been 25 incidents. So this is a reoccurring thing that happens at the University of Georgia. Now you're playing the best of the best. You're not, like I said, you're not playing that Cupcake East anymore. You're playing the best of the best in the SEC. You got Texas, Ole Miss, Bama in that one stretch. And you're telling me, Kirby just said it, I've spoken to the team 162 times about what's going on. That has nothing to do with us playing within those white lines. Some of your focus is gone away. I've been on really good teams, Carl. The 2000 team at Bama, when we were supposed to go back and win the SEC championship, we didn't, because we had off-the-field incidents that took us away from the focus and the plan at hand of playing football and winning the game between the lines. See, Reed, I'm going to touch on the next thing. All right, and it's my third and last thing I'm going to say about why I don't believe they're going to walk through the SEC and dominate like everybody thinks. The loss of production on offense. All right. When you talk about the production on offense, you lost your leading rusher. You lost Ladd McConkey. You lose Brock Bowers. You lose Mims. And I'm not going to touch on the center. I know you want me to touch on the center, but the center's gone. That center was I hear you laughing, was a main cog of that offense in terms of setting protection, run game, toughness, leadership. He was a bell cow of that group. When you wanted the ball being thrown and completed, and the play, you gave the ball to either Ladd McConkey or you got the ball to Brock Bowers. When those guys are gone with a bunch of other things going on, you have to replace them. I don't see those replacements coming right now. Carl, they're struggling on offense. But now let's go to defense. And let's talk about what they're missing on defense. Carl, they're missing the middle of that defense. They lost both of their safeties and their nickel, Lassiter. Now, when you're running Kirby's defense, the secondary makes a majority of the calls. And when they make the call, they set it. If that defense is ran from the back end to the front, when you are losing that much production and you have this many things going on within your organization and you're spending so much time away from football, at some point you're going to tell me, yeah, we can get locked in and play, and the game is going to be the game, and the head coach has to focus. Right now, the head coach has been talking 162 times, having team meetings, having policies. Instead of having policies, you should be having a game plan to develop your players. When you aren't developing your players and you're developing ways for them to get out of jail or stay in school or not get in trouble or DUIs, and you're worried about Uber, Carl, I've said everything other than preparing for Kalen DeBoer, Steve Sarkisian, Lane Kiffin. You didn't hear none of that come out of my mouth yet. I'm just saying, just be on hand. And you can run it back. I know you're going to run it back. Run it back.
Well, you don't have to say anything about preparing for Kalen DeBoer and Lane Kiffin and those guys, because Kirby Smart has proven time and time again that he's mastered what's going on the field. In addition to his 2 national titles that he's won as the head coach at Georgia, he was a part of 4 national championship teams as the defensive coordinator at your beloved University of Alabama. How dare you come on here and say that Georgia doesn't have a team or they lost? You just argued down with me on one of our earlier shows that the center didn't matter and that the center was the worst position in football. And now you telling me that they're struggling from a production standpoint because they lost their center. Georgia doesn't have to replace guys. They just reload. They have gotten 4 and 5 stars to bear on their team. They have Carson Beck, who may be the number 1 quarterback taken in the draft next year. They have Dominic Lovett at wide receiver, who at one point was a leading receiver in the SEC coming from the University of Missouri. I don't understand where the hate is coming from. Well, yes, I do. But in the words of Robin Harris on Bebe's Kids Smoke, Georgia looks at recruiting in their roster saying this: we don't die, we multiply. There's no shortage of talent in Athens, Georgia for the Bulldogs. Let's move on, Smoke, to the next topic. I can't believe you right now. You got the fans in an uproar. Texas will make a statement in the SEC. Smoke, let's talk about the Longhorns.
Oh, now you want to talk about the Longhorns. Okay.
Let's talk about the Longhorns.
So now we touched on what Nick said. So let me start out with when we talk about the Longhorns. We want to touch on three things. But first, let's talk about the head coach. The head coach is also your play caller. The head coach, Steve Sarkisian, he's been in the SEC. He understands those murky waters. He understands those tough Saturdays. He understands why he has to keep his group focused on the main thing. And the main thing is the team in front of him and playing within those white lines, keeping incidents out of the way and making sure that we focus on football all the way. He knows that the SEC is not a sprint. It's a physical marathon. He's built his team for the SEC from the guys up front, physical, big football players. If you look at his record, he started out slow in 2021. And then all you see is him just taking steps to get to where he has to get to. He finished in the Final Four last year. But I just listened to him this week during the SEC media week when he got up on the podium. Reed, this is what he spoke about. And I know you're going to love it. He spoke about getting back to Texas being a physical, downhill running team. We ain't talking wing T, Reed. We're talking about getting the ball in C.J. Baxter's belly, getting downhill and running play action, pass, and getting the ball to those explosive players that he just got. He got him a good group from Bond, Nyback, Silas. So he has explosive guys that he's replaced. Got a dude in the backfield, and all he's done is produce big-time receivers from Bijan, right, to Brooks, to now Baxter. He understands what it takes to win in the SEC from a play calling standpoint, from the understanding that there might be some load management that I have to do, and his schedule lines up perfect for him. But Carl, I got one more for you. You know my formula is always head coach, then what? Quarterback. Mm-hmm. We talked about Quinn Ewers. Natural flicking of the football. Understand, you see him climb up in the pocket right there, extend plays, can make plays on script, off script, leadership ability. I was at the Alabama game last year when they came out. The look that he had in his eyes and just the confidence that he played with, you thought this was a third-year vet in the NFL coming in the most hostile environment and playing chill. And when you watch the film all year from game 1 to the end, you saw a player completing nearly 70%, 289 yards per game, 27 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The game has slowed down for him. And when we talk about players taking that next step, you always want to see them take the game and make the game slow. And when the game starts getting slow for quarterbacks, the thing that you look at is their ability to navigate the pocket. You see him hitch up, slide, make subtle little movement and steps, use his eyes to manipulate coverage, and zips the ball in there. Reed, talk to me.
Now, I love the way the University of Texas team has been configured this year. Steve Sarkisian, an elite coach, offensive play caller. He's been around a long time, part of Pete Carroll's USC Trojan dynasty, national championship play caller also for Nick Saban. And Texas needed a jolt. Texas had got very stale. They're proud of their football, not only at the University of Texas, but Texas high school football. They had fallen off. And now Sarkisian has them in the national championship picture. And you've talked about a lot of things. You've talked about everything except the best player on the team, left tackle Kelvin Banks, who's going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, anchors a offensive line that rebuilt, that he was a starter on as a true freshman, that started the resurgence of Texas climbing back into the national championship picture. Steve Sarkisian talks about running the ball because through recruiting, not only has he gotten elite level quarterbacks, he also rebuilt that offensive line, and it has pros on it, something that Texas hasn't seen up front in a very long time. And I was talking to an NFL front office person not too long ago. They feel like Steve Sarkisian is the best developer of the quarterback position in the country. Maybe his only other peer could potentially be Ryan Day. This comes from an NFL front office exec. So Steve Sarkisian, the play he has at quarterback, having a guy, it's no coincidence that Arch Manning and the Manning family was willing to let him go to Texas and be a backup because they wanted him coached by Sark. So I think that he does have it trending in the right direction. Smoke, tell me, though, what do you think about Texas' schedule? Because they're not in the Big 12 anymore. They're in the SEC.
Ooh, now, see, Reed, this is one of the most favorable schedules that you're going to see. Right. When you look at it, the second game of the season at Michigan, that's their first test until they get to Georgia. So they have really true tests in this entire season that they get past. Right. Michigan's going to come out, and they're going to try to get physical with them. I think they beat Michigan. Then you got UTSA, Monroe, Mississippi State. We know what the rivalry is against Oklahoma, but I think they handled them. But then you got Georgia. This is where you decide on if you're going to go undefeated or if you get one loss. If they do get one, I think they're fine. Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, and A&M, listen to me. Like I said, big plays, big opportunity. They're going to make a statement. Everybody's looking. I just hope they don't go Texas on it. But they have that quarterback, favorable schedule, head coach combination. Reed, like you said on Saturday, like you said on Monday, is the SEC ready for Texas?
Smoke, it's time for the flag on the play segment. We got to talk about things that don't sit right with us. Who you throwing your flag on to?
Well, Reed, I should throw the flag on you for speaking of my name like you did and just throwing all type of just remarks about me that ain't even true. But listen, this is what I'm gonna throw the flag. I'm gonna throw the flag again on the NCAA for setting up this playoff system without the understanding that a lot of these teams are going to start what we call load management. Just think about it, Reed. You're the head coach of, say, Texas. We just ran through Texas, and you are undefeated going into your last 2 weeks. Are you going to be playing your starters? No. Are you going to be playing if your rival game is at the end of the season, which most fans are looking forward to? I'm sitting down my team. Now, if you are, say, Georgia, and you had some stumbles along the way, and you have figured out that now I'm not going to be in the playoffs, what do you think those real good players of Georgia are going to do? They're going to opt out. They're going to sit down. And then we're all going to be screaming at those young people about why they're not playing. They're not competitive. They don't want to play. But you gave me the opportunity to do so without anything in place to understand that load management is going to happen. Players going to opt out. So what was your plan to make sure that the average college fan get to see real good football from game one all the way to the end? Reed, who you throwing the flag on?
Smoke, I'm going to keep the flag on the NCAA the same way, but I think that what we have to realize is you're going to have unintended consequences to the decision. And Smoke, everything you talked about is what us guys who watch football in the old days like and what we want, where every game counts every week. But the thing about the old days, Smoke, is they the old days. Anytime you institute new rule, new policy, new ways of doing things, there are going to be unintended consequences. You wanted the field expanded to 12, so the unintended consequences, you're going to see load management once teams clinch a playoff berth. You're going to see guys sit. What you also are going to see is when guys are out of playoff contention, they're going to opt out. They're going to opt out way sooner. They're going to opt out more often, and that's just the way that it's going to be. This is the new world that we live in. This is the adjustment that had to be made. And Smoke, that's just the way the game is right now.
That's how it is, Carl. Free throws and fouls is a part of the game.
Listen, guys, if you want to check out our show, always follow us on the 24/7 YouTube channel. Check out Unfiltered every Wednesday and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You have just been unfiltered.